I'm Dale Smith for Loony Politics, and this week the House of Commons is going to be fast-tracking Bill C-39, which is the bill to delay the onset of medical assistance in dying for people whose sole condition is a mental disorder. And the Conservatives have agreed that they will fast-track this, but they've also said that they don't support extending MAID, or medical assistance in dying, to this category at all. So I wouldn't be surprised if they try to move amendments or motions to that effect during this debate, which could mean that it could take longer than the government is anticipating over the course of the week. It's also important to remember that there's been a great deal of misinformation around what this actually means and why there's been a delay. And the legislation already had it in place that it would come into force this year. But the government has listened to psychiatric colleges, for example, who've said they need more time for training doctors and so on. So they're giving them another year before this becomes part of the law. But there's been some disinformation in terms of what this is actually entailing. And what it's supposed to entail is people for whom they have a mental disorder that is not treatable and which is causing them suffering. And instead, what the narrative has been is that this is for people with treatable depression and that the government will somehow want them to kill themselves, which is not true at all. And suicidal ideation is one of the screening criteria, which means that you wouldn't be eligible if you were suffering from that. And it's also important to remember that this is putting into place the notion that mental health is health, that there is no real distinction between mental health or physical ailment. But by extending this onset, that's what it's actually saying, that mental health is separate and cannot be treated the same as physical health. It's also leaving a disparity in place. So someone with a untreatable psychiatric disorder who is suffering, but has a comorbidity in terms of another disability or untreatable illness can access MAID, whereas someone with that same untreatable psychiatric disorder but doesn't have a similar comorbidity can't access it. So that's partially why this was supposed to come into play in the first place, was to level that playing field. But that's what people are objecting to, particularly the Conservatives. So we'll see if the government can get it through this week, because they need to ensure that it happens before the legislative timeline elapses. But this could be an interesting week for debate. For Loony Politics, I'm Dale Smith.